Chase, man. Welcome to the podcast, man. I'm very, very, first and foremost, I'm grateful you're able to kind of chat with me today, share your story, share your transitions through different things, and kind of dive deep into what you've been doing, what you got going on, and what you've been through. So thanks very much, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So with that being said, kind of take me through, I'm intrigued a bit about your upbringing, so I want to start a bit like there. What was your high school experience like growing up, and then we can kind of transition into like kind of what we did after and
my high school life. In what sense?
Let's focus on like athletics.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So I made the interesting choice of following my brothers, going to Kilganon. It was a school of about like 400 kids, so it wasn't a very big school. Yeah. It was a B division school in Sudbury. But it's because all my friends from Kilganon or elementary school, they went to Kilganon as well, and both my brothers were there, so I thought, makes sense. But athletically, it ended up being obviously not a great choice, because I mean, on every team I played, I had a few of my friends or teammates that were, they were good, but not to a level that I wish we could have played.
Right.
Just because we were such a small school, we didn't have enough selection of people.
Yeah.
But I played like every sport. I still had a great time. Like my friends from Kilganon are still like some of my best friends now. Nice. Like we still have a group chat that's called Les Griffons, which because we were the Griffins. And yeah, so I played. What did I play? Played volleyball first thing, and then basketball. I did track, so I did high jump. Mostly high jump. I tried doing other things. I wasn't very good at anything else. Not even long jump. I was only good at jumping high. That's pretty much it.
Fair.
And then played softball, badminton when I was in my earlier years of high school, and then I think there's one more, but I can't think of it.
If you had to pick which one your favorite was, which would it be?
Oh, that's a hard question. It also depends on my junior years and my senior years. But I think that in my junior years, volleyball was so fun because I played with Grant, my brother. Yeah. And we actually had a pretty solid team for being a B division school. We had a really good setter in Max. Nice. Grant was a phenomenal hitter. I was grade 10, so I was like, I was actually early grade 10. I grew to 6'3" at the end of grade 10. And I was about and my friends didn't believe me when I said this, but my mom has the actual chart. And when I was in grade 10, early grade 10, I believe I was 5'10". So I grew 5 inches. It was the summer going into grade 11. So at the beginning when I was playing volleyball with Grant, I was still only 5'10". And so I wasn't really hitting. It was just kind of being part of the team, digging balls, being the dirty guy. But it was still the most fun I've had because I had our coach, Masoud Monet, who was a phenomenal coach. And we just felt like a good team. Yeah. We had a good team going, and it was a lot of fun. And Grant was dominant hitting the ball. So it was, I don't know, I had a good time.
Nice. So if we were to... So let's kind of jump from volleyball to basketball. What was your introduction to that? And then we can kind of go into the dunking from there.
Ooh, introduction to basketball. I mean, my dad from childhood was always a basketball guy. I mean, Jordan is named after Michael Jordan. Yeah. Grant is named after Grant Hill. Both basketball players. Kidding. I was supposed to be named Bjorn. Dude,
yes!
Dude, I know.
No!
I know.
That doesn't fit.
Dude, it's so funny. I've had 90% of people be like, what the hell? And then I had a table at my work that was like, that would be sick. And I was like,
that would be. But it doesn't fit.
That's what I'm saying. But I was either supposed to be Bjorn. I actually don't know who the basketball player is. I've heard of it, but I don't know who the full name is. Or Isaiah. He wanted to name me Isaiah for Isaiah Thomas. I'm glad I didn't get either of those. My mom was like, no, I'm naming this kid.
Shutting that down. Nice, let's go.
So I love my name. I'm happy with that. But that was all just to say that my dad was obviously a big factor in that. He was such a big baseball and basketball guy. Yeah. He was all around just an insane athlete and personal trainer. But growing up, just playing with my brothers, I need to give credit to my mom and my stepdad. They had basketball nets in their yard. So I always was outside playing against Grant and Jordan, and I was introduced mostly as a shooter because even though I ended up being the tallest out of the brothers, when you're growing up and you're the youngest by 3-4 years, I couldn't drive on them. What am I gonna
No.
do? They're all
true.
tall. They're both taller. They're bigger. They're stronger. So I had to learn how to shoot threes, and so everyone's like, "Oh, he's just a dunker," and it's like honestly, when it came to actual basketball, I was a 3-point shooter. I was way less of a driver than I should have been.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, when did you first get introduced into like dunking from that? Like, when did it go from just basketball to like focusing in on that?
Yeah, dunking. Yeah, this is nice. I like talking about this. I feel like I feel like a lot of people don't even like understand this part of me, you know?
Yeah, I'm very intrigued to like kind of peel back into this. So yeah,
because a lot of people are like, "Oh, like wasn't that your passion?" Blah blah blah. Like, if I'm being fully honest with you, no, it was never my passion. When I was younger, Jordan was the weirdo. He's the one who was like, "Oh, this is sick. I just want to dunk," and like he would do it all the time. And like I'm just the younger brother trying to be like my big bros, right? Like I used to do whatever they wanted to do. I gamed like Grant gamed, dunked like Jordan dunked. But then when I started posting online, especially when I was younger, I really like loved attention. I'm the youngest. I always wanted like me when I was younger. And dunking and posting online and getting all of this gratification from all these people kind of being like, "Oh, that's sick," blah blah blah. That was like my driving force. Like that,
feeding you,
yeah, because I genuinely like clearly I valued that a lot when I was younger.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that's how dunking started. Because I just would post like I just wanted to be like big bro at first, right? And like also my friends being like, "Oh wow, you're grade 10, you could dunk. That's so sick." Blah blah.
Yeah.
You know, like getting that kind of praise and around Sudbury them talking about it.
Yeah.
And then slowly Jordan started becoming who he was becoming, and I obviously kept getting better.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's how I got introduced to dunking anyway, and then it kind of just kept going from there. That was like stage 1.
Yeah. How old were you, would you say, roughly, when that kind of like stage 1 was? Like age timeline?
I think 14, because I think I remember posting videos of me like trying to dunk or like barely being able to dunk at 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 14, 15, but like mostly because 15 I believe is when I hit my growth spurt, and I was like 6'3", 140 pounds.
Oh, jeez.
Just a rake. Yeah. But yeah.
Nice. Okay. Something I'm curious about specifically around the trajectory of dunking. Was there ever, like, talk to me about the expectation you had to like follow through with that, going through, seeing what your older brother was doing and what he was accomplishing, and then also seeing that you were taller than him, like by a handful of inches, right? So it's like you have a bit more of a bit of a leverage on him, right? There's a bit more of like an upper hand with certain like traits as well, like physical traits that would benefit you. And then also kind of seeing the like footsteps, and like he didn't have like that trail blazed for him, right? But you would have like the best access to that. So what was that expectation like, and was there like a pressure, or like how did that kind of...
It's interesting because I feel like externally, and I've talked about this at our Mandela meetings, like regardless of whether or not there is a shadow casted, like if Jordan has an intention of having a shadow casted on me, which like he has never, ever, even a little bit.
Amazing, yeah.
But like the matter of the fact is there is still a shadow if I'm pursuing something where my brother is literally the best in the world. And so the expectation from the general public is just kind of like, you know, it's there. It's like, your brother's the best, like what are you gonna do type deal. So I definitely, like I felt that a lot, but I felt it mostly when I made a choice to try to become the best dunker in the world, which was like later, which was just like stage 2, I guess, would be like kind of dunking was, I went through like the attention, whatever, and then because I was genetically quite gifted, I mean, not nearly as genetically gifted as some of the dunkers out there, let me tell you that.
Yeah, no kidding.
But still gifted, and I one day chose that I wanted to take it seriously. I didn't really want to do like the whole school thing. It doesn't interest me to work like 9 to 5 every single day. Like that, for me personally, my life, it doesn't interest me. So I decided to pursue dunking full time. It made sense. I was good at it. My brother was making money off of it. I ended up making quite a bit of money off of it.
Do you think it was more or less like about not so much physically being better, but do you think the demand was on like the pressure you had to meet an expectation? Because I don't think you put that expectation on yourself directly. You might have a little, but
this is kind of what I was getting at, is that eventually when I did make the choice to become the best dunker, that's when it started, the shadow thing started bothering me, because it was like, now I'm making an effort towards trying to be the best, and I was putting in fucking work. Like I was like, my whole entire, and I do this with a lot of things in life. I always have. If I choose to do something, I do it really aggressively hard. And it also was kind of my downfall sometimes, because I would go too hard and then I would injure myself, and then I'd be kind of, that kind of whole thing came. But in terms of the expectation, I don't know. Like, that's the only time I ended up being competitive with Jordan mentally.
Yeah.
That's the only time, was when I chose that I wanted to be the best. Because, I mean, realistically, if he's the best and I want to be the best, who am I up against? I'm up against Jordan. But, like, in terms of being, like, as a bro, I've never once felt any kind of, like, negative emotion or feeling, him even putting me in his shadow. He's never...
That's not his style.
It's not his style. He's never been like that. He just does his thing. He helps me whenever I needed help. He was very supportive, and like, hell yeah, he was supportive. He would post my stuff. He still is, in terms of my music and stuff. So
nice.
Yeah.
I kind of want to dive into something you just talked about, like just kind of brought up shortly. But what you did in like talking to Jordan in the past, you guys have this trait, like this very obsessive trait and quality, right? And you were saying it can be a bad thing sometimes. But I want to know, where do you think that obsessive trait comes from?
It's gotta be, man, I don't know. I don't want to I'm trying to think, but it's gotta be it's gotta be my parents. And I would lean towards saying my dad, because the way he would talk about sports growing up, the way, like, the intensity that he had, like, even if you watch him train his clients, like, just like he's literally feeling your pain through every rep. Like, he is with you. Like, you have that energy. And that's how he was when he would talk about all of his sports stories too. So the way he would obsess over the details, and that was something he would always preach, is being obsessive over the details. The shit he told me he used to do to train, it's like some Rocky montage shit. So it's like, definitely, I would say, big time from my dad. My mom can be obsessive too, but in like, she was more in like the financial side of things. Like, they are separated, by the way, to make it clear. But her and my stepdad were very successful financially, so they would be obsessive over that kind of thing. But I'm not sure that is where our obsessive traits mostly came from. Because my dad's was like more a competitive thing, and I feel like everything me and Jordan are me, Jordan, and Grant. Grant was just as obsessive with things that we wanted to do. All of them that we were obsessed over were things that were kind of competitive.
Okay, so there was a little bit of competition in it.
Yeah, because I've definitely always been super competitive.
I see what you mean by when you kind of made that shift of like, okay, I've decided now I'll be the best dunker in the world, and then you made that shift, and you're like, that's when it started to get, you're like, no, it's me or him, like, it's now there's competition, and that's what forced you into that.
Yeah, it's funny because I never had that thought, like, it's me or him. Honestly, I didn't even like consider the fact that, he's number one, I need to beat him. That wasn't even like really my thought. It was more so just like, I want to be recognized as good. And I mean, let me say this too. One thing that definitely added pressure was how much and this is not bashing them, this, because they're so lovely for saying this, but like my brothers, like my dad, and everybody just kind of always being like, oh, Chase is supposed to be better than Jordan. It honestly really bothered me.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Because I'm like, sure, I'm taller, and I find it hard to believe when I keep being told, oh, you're more genetically gifted than both of us. Like, I've been told that my whole life, and I'm like, okay, like, maybe the slightest bit, but I really don't think it is that grave. But that part really bothered me a lot, because I feel like a lot of the time it was kind of like, oh, Chase, you're supposed to be this. And if you're not meeting expectation. I'm just like, and I know that it's not how it was said, but I mean, that's kind of implied when you're saying like, oh, you're supposed to be, like, he's supposed to be better than Jordan. And it wasn't like, sorry, when they say that, they're not saying it was supposed to be, he is going to be. It was kind of like how they were saying
they projected your potential.
Yeah, but it was
interesting.
Yeah.
There's I feel that would also not enable you to be able to kind of try and experiment things as well. It's like, it has to be this.
What do you mean?
What I mean is, because I've found this in the past, like for me personally, I don't have like a totally like obsessive trait. I need to be doing multiple things, right? In order, so
this is interesting, especially in my right now life.
So what the thing was is, I was like, I don't want to dive in and do like a lot of only grappling and obsess over it, and I don't want to like only do the show and obsess over it, because I need different outlets. That's just how I am. And I had a guy on the podcast, and he's in Boston, Massachusetts, and his name's Craig, so I'll give a shout out to him, because I think he's phenomenal dude. But he's a triple crown swimmer, so I'm not gonna pretend to know to like one or two of them, but I think he's swam like Manhattan, but swam the English Channel, and then did like a couple other really long endurance swims. But he's also like a purple belt in jiu-jitsu as well, so he's like higher ranked than I am even. But he also is like a like really good scuba diver, and he goes on shipwrecks and does all these crazy, like really like good at these hobbies that he does. Hobbies, right? Yeah. And I was like, man, how do you, like, I feel that if I don't focus on one thing now, I might miss out on seeing it through and the success I could have if I don't. But then it's like, oh, if I only focus on the podcast, I might miss out on what I can do in grappling. And if I don't, I might miss out on, or I might get to it much later and miss the boat with the show and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense.
So that's kind of what the whole thing, my whole point to bring it home is, and what I kind of want to like help kind of explain my question. But he kind of brought this point up where he was like, you have to, it's not about removing expectations you have for yourself. It's removing the expectations that you believe other people have of you. And he's like, if you can manage to figure that out, he's like, things come and go. There will be seasons where you could do things. He's like, I'm not, in the summer, I'm doing more open water swims. I'm not doing as much grappling, but in the winter, I'm with his example, right? So I like kind of look at my life in seasons now, ever since that conversation about a year ago, and was like, I could focus on, so like I had like my national, like my nationals like tournament a couple weeks ago, and like for 6 weeks, I was like, I'm not really going to do any shows. I'm just going to focus on this, and then right after I'll have like multiple episodes that I can kind of do and focus, starting with you. So I was like, that's my plan, that's the vision of it. And I found that's been a bit more easy to kind of remove the pressure that I'm thinking other people are putting on me. It's like, well, what does Chase think of what I'm doing here? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's a weird way to navigate life.
I think it's all about how you formulate it and organize kind of what your needs are. In terms of what you need to be focusing on at that time. It's tricky though, man. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you don't know what's going to make you, what's the ultimate goal, to make you happiest, to push you forward in life, which will ultimately make you happy. Which, I
even think too, you might agree or disagree once I say this, but I think 100% happiness all the time is like not, I think it's made up. I don't think it's real. I think it's not realistic. I don't think that's what life is, you know what I mean? Like, if you're always happy, like that doesn't, are you ever happy? Like, it almost doesn't make sense to me that I want to strive for that and like have these glimpses of it, but I don't think that it's something anybody can really maintain.
In my life, I agree. In my life at the moment, do I believe that's possible? I do. But that's like a whole like spiritual and like this is such a philosophy answer here. But people who reach. So I've done I'm big into enlightenment and that kind of journey, and I believe there's a few people that not a few, but I'm sure a decent amount of people in the world who truly are enlightened, which is like the highest state of consciousness, who are constantly present. I mean, from my experiences, every time I've been entirely present in the moment and fully feeling and entirely being in the space and hearing everything at once and being fully present, I've never once felt an ounce of negative emotion.
Amazing.
Because I'm not because in that moment, there is nothing that I can be anxious about coming up in the future, and there's nothing that I could be sad about that's in the past. So I have no depression because I'm not thinking about anything that's negative that happened in the past. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just thinking about what's right in front of me, which is like there's usually never anything unless someone's stabbing me with needles, like I'm like or like knives. Like I'm probably in a happy state. But so I guess my answer would be in terms of like your comment or your statement about happiness all the time. Just those enlightened people, and I think that. Do I think it's a good thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
I was talking to a Christian about this, and it's interesting because, like, when I told him I'm reading The Power of Now, his answer was so cool. And this was when I was younger, so I was very impressionable. And his answer was just, "It's essential." he's like, "Good, it's essential." I was like, okay, like that sounds like I need to read this damn book. And so after reading it, it was definitely essential. It honestly. I'm telling you, the first 3/4 of the book, I literally was like, what is going on? Like I did not understand what was happening. And then at the end of it, out of nowhere, I just it felt like I understood life.
Oh.
Dude, it was weird. It was like this,
stuff like that.
It was this weird, I get what he's saying. Out of nowhere, just got it. And then everything started making more sense in my life. I was like, oh, hurt people that are the ones that hurt people. I was just randomly was just thinking about that. I was like, oh, when people are taking their shit out on me, I don't need to react. I need to be able to look past it and be like, oh, you're just hurting. You obviously are just, this is how you're outbursting into the world. And then it's kind of my job to be able to be like, this is not personal. They're not actually mad at me. There's something going on in their lives. Yeah. And if I just react nicely, maybe that'll change them back to feeling better, Super simple thing, but that's something that I learned from that book.
Nice. You reading it now? You said no. At the time that
this was a while ago. It's basically just the practice of being in the now and kind of understanding how people's pain, how basically all your pain go away if you're in the present moment, and that people who are in pain are the ones who hurt other people. Just simple lessons.
Man, that's cool. That would be a good time. I want to gift/lend this to you. So,
Subtle Art of Not Giving Up.
Whether you've read it or not, I think. If you've read it, don't read it. But
I actually have bought it.
Oh yeah.
This was one of the first books.
No way, really?
Did not really read it.
No,
no.
Read chapter 6. If you have a hard time sitting down and actually going through it, just read chapter 6. Because I was I know it's tough sometimes to. I don't even. Oh no, this was
chapter 6 about.
So the whole thing is about is mainly about identity. I found was the biggest thing in this chapter.
Important for me.
Yeah, important for. Because I was struggling with a piece of it when I first read it, because I bought this after I had read it. My friend lent it to me and I started reading it, and then he's like, you can borrow it, and I was like, great. And then I was like, okay, I have to get my own copy. But I bought it after and I reread it and was like, this is huge. The whole thing was whatever the reason was at the time, the identity shift that it was really, really cool, because it kind of explains really well how to not be so attached to who you believe you should be or who you believe you are and stuff. And I don't know, I just found it put a lot of things into perspective, and I think that shift really allowed for me to kind of not be as stressed out about living the way I was living at the time.
Let me tell you, in terms of my life, and thank you, by the way.
Yeah, dude,
I really
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'll get it back eventually.
Eventually. Yeah. Jordan still didn't get a few books back, but it's because we've never thought of it. He's forgetful, I'm forgetful.
It happens.
Yeah, but you're probably not, so we'll be good. In terms of identity, or that kind of thing of not caring, it's so interesting how different. It's funny, I just talked to my girlfriend yesterday about it. I could read the text. When it came to dunking, I got to a place. I used to be afraid of posting stuff online, and and it was, Christian said something very interesting when I was having a therapy session with him. I was saying, I was like, I feel weird posting myself shirtless because then I don't want to come off as cocky, or like videos of myself shirtless. And he goes, isn't the insinuation that you'll be thought of as cocky by having your shirt off cocky?
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
Got him.
Sheesh. Yes. He's like, dude. He's like, so what are your favorite people online? What do they do? Do they have their shirt off? I'm like, yeah. And then he's like, here's the thing. You want to be someone who shines so bright and in showing what you do that it wears off on other people. It's like you're working hard. Back then, all I was doing was grinding my body and like being in shape and posting videos, like that kind of inspiring thing. Yeah. It's like he's like, your whole goal is just to be on there and to inspire people that they can look like you if they do what you're doing. Yeah. And like, you know, so that was super important. And then from that day on, I stopped really caring about what people thought. Nice. Really. So then I started.
That's powerful.
I mean, it was more than just that, but I ended up, in terms of dunking, I was just like, dude, if you saw the shit I posted, I was just a young guy with a bunch of energy, and I wanted, you know, I loved attention, I loved looking good, I loved whatever, so that was fun for me. And I stopped caring. I made that flip in the switch where I didn't care. I would go to a rave or like a festival, and I would be that guy who would, in the morning, I would do all my stretches while everyone's partying and drinking. I would be doing my stretches, and everybody's like, what the hell are you doing? Yeah. Doing some bird dogs, looking like an idiot in the corner with all these girls partying here.
Bird dogs.
Dude, like just some like simple stuff, but
that's awesome.
When I made that flip, it was like I didn't care for years and years, and but now when it comes to music, it's kind of changed again. I've been having a hard time kind of breaking out of the shell of people caring about what I do again, which is something I literally was talking to my girlfriend about yesterday, or two yesterday.
So before we get into music, take us through that transition period of like, when did you first believe dunking wasn't going to be like a long-term thing?
Man, COVID really screwed it. Like, I'm not going to put all the blame on COVID because, I mean, I don't know. You live in Canada.
Yeah, that's bad.
You live in Canada.
That's bad.
COVID, I can't go to a single basketball gym.
Nowhere. Yeah.
Like, the shit Jordan had to do to go to gyms was just crazy. And let me tell you, at the beginning of COVID was the most ripped, the most in shape, the most like not like before it happened, like throughout the first like 6 months, I was grinding. Like, if you were on my Instagram, you would see me. Yeah. I had all my dad's gym equipment, and I would literally drive to the gym zone in the back of the parking lot, and I would just do my killer workouts outside in the sun all summer. But then winter hit. And like COVID hit in what, like early winter, whatever. Yeah. So it was fine, and like that happened. But then I had like 6 months of like grinding hard because I was like, oh, I could dunk outside. I had a rim, I could do all that. But then when winter hit, it was just like I couldn't do anything. Yeah. So that just kind of sucked in terms of dunking, and then I kind of started gearing towards my downfall of slowly getting less and less good, slowly kind of fizzling out and that kind of thing. And then I just picked up music for fun. I mean, it wasn't even like a serious thing, and this was actually prior to the COVID thing. But to answer specifically your question of when the turning point was, it was still probably like a few years into COVID. Like it was like 2 years ago, probably like, exactly 2 years ago. So it was like November 5th after this dunk show I got injured. Huh. Which is also where I met my girlfriend.
Yeah, what happened with like, what type of injury? Like what?
I've had multiple injuries. I was just always, like honestly, every dunk show I've ever done, I was like, pretty much injured for a lot of them, which really sucked. But it's a lot of adductor stuff and hamstring stuff, but Christian will tell me that he thinks it was mostly mental. He thinks I had a hard time with the, like, he thinks a lot of the stuff, like, you know, some moo beliefs of me just kind of getting too stressed and then like literally wearing my body down and it getting hurt.
Yeah, so you eventually are like, no, I gotta. What was that phase like of like what kind of guided you into music? You think you just picked it up? You said just out of nowhere, but like, where did that? You're like one day, hey, I want to do this.
Out of all the brothers, there's one thing that is certain: I am by far the most emotional and the most like emotionally connected to the world. I know emotional makes it sound like I cry a lot. No, just like emotionally connected. I was always like the sensitive kid. I don't know. I feel more deeply. I feel, and so I always loved music. Like I loved music. I got introduced to electronic music by my brothers because they both went to festivals before I grew up, and then eventually I started listening to this guy Elenium and Seven Lions, just a few big staple names in this genre of like melodic dubstep type music, and that shit just like I knew every song. Like I was like the biggest fan ever, and I just loved it. And it like I honestly would go to the gym. I would wake up and I was so excited to go to the gym because my dad had a gym at that point with a big speaker, and it was like it would be empty and it would just be me, and I could blast it because we were in an industrial zone or whatever. So
nice,
like if you knew the excitement I would have to go in that gym and blast that music and work out and just like literally like have my mental state in just like another world while working out, like that's what made me want to make music, because I wanted to be able to gift that to other people too, and to be able to create that for myself as well.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
Speaking of create, do you have what's your creative process like?
Creative process with music.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, it depends on the day, I guess. But it's something I've been developing throughout, obviously as I've been making music. But I'm starting to get better at the whole, because I don't play any instruments. I don't.
Really?
Yeah, I never have. I never played any instruments. I draw all my notes in. I learned music theory from scratch like 4 years ago. Yeah. I learned the software from scratch, obviously, and I didn't go to school or anything, so everything was self-taught, and it was like through YouTube videos and whatever. Yeah. But creative process would be nowadays. I'll just skip to now. Would be having an idea. Depends what track I'm making though. But if I'm making the stuff that I like with towards my album that I'm working on. Mm-hmm. It's thinking, okay, I will have an emotion that I want to, or like a little bit of a story. It honestly helps to write out a story first, and then try to accomplish that feeling through a song.
Whoa.
Yeah, like literally what I was doing before I came here. I was writing the story for how I wanted the intro to my album to feel, and here I'll just spoil it a bit. Like the story is just last year I had a really hard year. Yeah. It was a big identity switch from dunking to this. Not a lot of people knew that I was doing that, and it was harder for me to just be in the world because I just felt like in the middle. Like I wasn't really a dunker anymore. So when people call me dunker, I was like, I'm not a dunker. You're a music guy, but you have no music. Yeah. So it was just this awkward stage. But yeah, so the whole story is about my real life, and then kind of making it magical. Where the beginning of my album is someone who is struggling. I want to if we're using visuals, it would be like this person who is in the world, but is like this black shadow, and he can't really talk to anybody. So everyone, the world's going on as normal, but this person, it's like a magical world, let's say. And he's just like this black shadow, and then when he tries to talk to anybody, it's like mumbles coming out. He's just like he can't really speak, because it's like the imagery for someone being lost and like sad and having a hard time connecting with the world, which is how I felt for a little bit in that time. And then
that's powerful. Yeah. That's cool.
And then the whole idea is that, and this is kind of the right as my song starts for the intro, it's kind of the vibe I want. And then it goes quickly into like a sucking out of that world, where it's like just someone or something divine kind of finally called you out and was like, just let it go, bro. Like, just let it go. So it's called Letting Go. And there's like little vocals in there. It's like letting it go. And the whole idea is like this big like sucking out from that moment, and like the shadow kind of evaporating, and then like being like, man, it's all good. It's all fucking good. And now, let's start living our lives again. It's just kind of breaking off that sadness and realizing that it's not worth holding on to. And like, just just that life is great, and you gotta find out. I don't know how to explain it, but just gotta let go of the negative shit, pretty much.
How do you go about extrapolating, like storytelling emotion to, and then transferring that to, like audio emotion? Because because I listen to different music depending on, right, we were talking about this before the podcast started, like the type of scenario or the vibe I'm in, or kind of how I feel around certain things, and then that's why we resonate with songs, right? The relatability. And then I always find I'm like, okay, that really depends on how we're feeling, but how do you manage to do that? Like, how do you manage to pull it out and then transfer it, right? That's
Music
very, very tricky.
is so emotional. It's a feeling. And this actually goes back to being present. And here is another thing to correlate that. Like, flow state.
Yeah.
You're in the zone when you're playing sports, or when I'm making music, flow state. That is being that is being fully present. Like, that is what that is. When people say like, oh, like they talk about it, it's like that is you knowing everything that's going on, and it's like I know what to do in a game of basketball if I'm in the zone, because I've done this so many times that my body, like, I don't need to think about what's going on. I'm just in the zone. I know the right move. Like, and the same thing comes to music. And I've written by far the most emotional and best melodic pieces when I'm just fully like in this flow state where I'm feeling inspired, and I all I want to do is kind of put that emotion onto there. So when I'm selecting all of the notes, when I'm selecting all the whatever, there are some days that it's like hard as hell to do. Then there are other days where like it's honestly the easy. It's like, oh, what did Rick Rubin say? Jordan gave me this quote. He's like, the best, what did he say? I have this quote written somewhere. But basically he's like, it's like about letting the art present itself. It's not really, it's like I'm not even like creating it. Right. I'm just the one like putting it there. But to me, it's like sometimes the art is just obvious. So like when I'm clicking a note, it's not like, oh, does this or this sound better? Which sometimes that is what I have to do if I'm not in a flow state. But when I'm in that flow state, it's literally just like, oh, I know it's this note. I know it's this chord. I know this should be here. I know this should be here. It's super weird, especially, but that, like I said, it's not always like that. Yeah. And it depends on what kind of music I'm making.
So sometimes it will be guesswork.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to show up in the studio and make happy accidents. Like sometimes you just have to just start writing random shit, and like if I make like tech house or like more bumpy whatever stuff, I don't really need to be as much in a flow state, which I'm sure it would still help, but like sometimes I just want to, I don't know, make an aggressive dubstep beat or something, and it's less. I'm sure being in that state would definitely help, especially if let's say I was like, can you be in a flow state if you're really angry? I don't know.
I think it's a different type of focused. You can definitely be focused on something, but you're not taken out of your element. But you're taken out of your element.
I think you would have to be in like a calm, like carrying this anger calmly.
Those are dangerous people.
And then put.
Can you carry anger calmly though? Yeah. Or are you just prepared?
I don't know.
Because I know some people that they like, they're like, oh yeah, we see red. That whole old BS saying that. People are like, oh man, I see red. I'm like, yeah, but you have zero control of yourself. Yeah. That's terrifying.
That is terrifying.
Not mainly it's just the no control of your own like emotions or reactions or behavior. Yeah. That's the freaky part. Yeah. Which happens
a lot. I mean, I don't know why this is coming to my mind, but like I'm just thinking about like bar fights. Yeah. Like all I can think of is like people get into like this small argument at a bar when they're drunk, and then like someone gets shot or killed. Yeah. And it's just like
off the rockers.
Like all because you were just really upset that someone said something, or like obviously it differs per situation, but yeah, that's that shit happens in the world.
Creepy.
That's why I'm a lover, not a fighter.
But do you not think it's so I think it's Keanu Reeves said this where he's like, if you're but if you're not a fight, or you have to fight it was be a lover and a fighter, but fight for the ones you love.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, all right, we got something here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there will never be a time where like I don't ever want to have to. I'm never gonna initiate anything, right? Like, and we'll use that scenario on 5 Cent City, for example. Like, I didn't feel anybody was aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
I felt they were loud. I didn't feel threatened, but I was like, if Chase feels threatened or somebody, or if like they put their hands on him, like all bets are off, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where I'm like, okay, where's this line? Luckily, thankfully, that didn't happen. Like, you didn't get hurt, nobody got hurt. But looking at that, I was like, yeah, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Do you remember what Christian said? Were you there for that? I don't know if you. I think it was Zach. I wish I knew the exact quote.
I don't know.
But he said something about the end of the whole quote that he said was, "There's a time for the sword."
Yeah.
He's like, there's a time for this, there's a time for this, and then there's a time for the sword. And he's like, that was the time for the sword. He was basically trying to tell me that, like, there's some times where I could be like, I could talk my way out of things, I could do whatever, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes I just need to be, like, solid and be like, yo. Oh, no, that's not what he was saying. He was mostly referring to himself. He was saying, when it comes to my boys and the people I really care about, which it kind of goes with what Keanu said.
Yeah.
It's that was the time for the sword. He's like, we needed the boys to be there and to have the sword out and ready to go, because if we didn't, then it could have turned out bad.
Whatever. No, it's no, you can.
No, and I fully agree. There is a time where you need to do things. It's like what's this hypothetical that my brother always talks about? I'm pretty sure. Okay, Grant's like, some dude like touched my girl's ass at the bar. I wouldn't do anything. He's like, I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But basically, and I don't know if he's kidding or not, but basically he's just like, because of that risk of like it escalating to something it doesn't need to go, it's not even worth it. It's like, oh, like just, you know, it's one butt touch. If the guy kept doing it, I'm sure then something would be said.
Yeah.
But it's like,
you smack him on the ass. That's what I'd do. Probably, I say that, but you never know. But I just be like,
that's just like, like tempers flaring is just when you're drinking.
My buddy told me the other day, like, a story where he was like, yeah, I almost got jumped by 8 guys getting in a cat. I was like, yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. I'm like, what are we doing?
So I guess, you know what, if I'm going to be more specific, I would say protecting those you care about. Yeah. But like knowing what is worth protecting, like when there's a time for that sword, is knowing when you need to do that. Because it's like, if you're that dude who, like, someone touch your girl's eyes, come on, bro, you're just like, you know, and you're like starting this huge shit. It's like, first of all, it screams insecurities.
Yeah, it does. Over anything.
And second of all, it's just like, it's not necessary. But like, if it kept being like, okay, now you're just purely disrespecting me, then it's like, I'll do something about it, but like with control.
Yeah, with reason. The thing too I found is if you're not able to end the physical altercation when it gets to that point, like, that's where I find the nice thing about being in control is like, if you're able to, you decide when it ends. That's like my buddy who I train with. He's like training for his 3rd amateur MMA fight, but he's like, I get to control when it ends. That's the biggest thing. I'm like,
because of his strength,
just because of like skill set.
Right.
So he's able,
that's what I meant. I meant like
he's able to just control. So with skill, skill in fighting, he's able to kind of like mitigate the situation. Basically, he just, you know, takes him down, holds him there, and then they're just like, okay, we're good. And he's like, okay, you calm? All right. Let's go drink.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
I fully agree. I wouldn't know, but it's
cool. It's the best way to do it. But kind of circling back, how do you know of any certainty, or I wonder how this has changed over the years, but how do you know that you've made the right, you're confident with this shift into music?
Because it's something I've stuck with. There's been this whole ordeal with my family and like just like people I know where they've always been like, wow, Chase gets really good at something, stops doing it. Gets really good at something, stops doing it. Gets really good at something, stops doing it. So even my mom and my stepdad when I went over for Thanksgiving, they were talking to me and they're like, it's nice to see you, like, you're sticking with something. And I'm like, yeah, because I actually like doing it. I was like, I don't know. So I think that's kind of how I know it's good, and I'm gonna keep working towards getting better at it. And I mean, I'm chilling right now. I'm kind of enjoying where I'm at. I serve, make good money serving, and I'm just like, I don't have that 9 to 5. I would I would hate that. Like, I know it's like I could do it.
What part about it?
just like, I don't know, I like freedom. I like being able to do things I want to do, and like the whole like having to do this every single day for this time. I'm sure a lot of people think like, oh, that's like normal. Yeah. You're contributing to society. I'm like, I think I can contribute to society in a lot better ways than that. And with music, I feel like it's an easy way to become a medium. This is actually why I make music. Let me just say that. It's a good way to be a medium for people to feel their emotions deeper, and which is my goal with my project. And or for people to feel emotion at all. There are some people out there who have a hard time feeling shit, and sometimes music is that gateway for them to feeling closer or deeper into whatever it is. So it's like, if I could be that for some people in the world, I feel like I'm contributing lots.
Nice. I'm curious. There's a lot to unpack there. There's have you implemented any habits that have benefited you in this kind of in this music like career path you're undertaking, like since the beginning to now? Like, have you adopted any like positive habits that have made a difference?
Make a difference in what?
In the development of the art, like reaching that goal that you're, like you just mentioned,
making the damn hours in, putting the damn hours, like, dude, as Jordan said, like, literally, you'll hear me like talking about it in our family group chat, and then Jordan will just be like, "Yeah, you got this many more hours to go," and like he's just like kidding around, but he's mostly just saying like, to be a master at something, you got to put the damn hours in. So like, and like my ears when I first started heard nothing compared to now. Like I can, in terms of like mixing and like knowing levels and like kind of knowing what sounds good and what doesn't sound good. I've obviously, that's something you develop like over time, and like actually going through all these mixes, trying a bunch of different stuff. Like I've written probably 1,000 songs, but like a lot of them are just like didn't end up going anywhere or whatever. But like just the trial and error and the constant grind and the staying consistent, which would be number one in almost all endeavors or things that you chase and you want to get better at, is just being consistent. That is probably the number one factor in me becoming better. Are there other habits though? I'm trying to think, because I'm trying to answer your question properly. I'm still trying to figure that out. Honestly, I'm still trying to figure out what's best for me. But lately, the last 2 weeks, the whole meditating and breath work before jumping into it is so much better. Because when I find a lot of times when I make music, I get frustrated with myself if the outcome is not good. So being in a calm state of mind before I get into something and being like, "Okay, listen, the world doesn't hate you. Like, it's like you're doing fine. Just make what you love, make it come from the heart." And being able to like meditate on that and breathe beforehand makes it a lot easier to jump into creative process.
What's your meditation process look like? Because I have a different one as well that allow you to meditate on different things. I'm curious what yours is.
Oh yeah, I actually did slip up when I said that, when I said the meditate on stuff. Well, okay, yes and no. Because most of my meditation is trying to literally just be fully in the present moment. It's just trying to pay attention to the sounds, the feelings, everything right now, and just breathing and giving myself that time. But I actually have recently been implementing a whole after the 5 minutes that I do that, adding like another 2 minutes, 1 minute for, which we did at the Mandela meeting, 1 minute for kind of just giving my love out to the world unconditionally.
I love that little adjustment too.
It's so cool. I learned that from Paul Check on his Instagram. It's something that he does, and I was just like, it's just so simple, but like it was just kind of cool to do, to just like look at the world. He's like, it's kind of like the only point you ever give unconditional love, because like the truth is all love we have in life is conditional, whether you like it or not. It is. It is
interesting.
You know, like it's so conditional. Think even like mothers and daughters. Like not all mothers and daughters love each other. Like, you know, like end up getting in fights, whatever. It's like it's conditional, but it's like the only time you can give unconditional love. If you look out to the world and you just fully pour out your love for anybody who is out there that needs it, it's like, but you're not expecting anything back, obviously, because no one's hearing you. So it's that unconditional love, and then the next minute after that, it's kind of me talking to myself and being like, you're deserving of love. Like nobody hates you. It's like, you know, you go put your gift out in the world, and and kind of just like allowing myself to go through the rest of the day and accepting love from wherever I get it.
How do you get through the bad days? And I guess what I'm wondering more specifically, how do you, and you might not feel this way, but I've felt at times this way, especially in regards to the show in the early day, or the podcast in the earlier days, but how do you get through feeling like an imposter? Because I've found that you want to try something and you have like this contrarian idea that you're like, oh, I want to do this thing. I have this creative project that I really want to pursue and a passion of mine, and turn it into something that I can showcase and be proud of, right? But in the same token, it's like, well, you also have to start at zero, which means you have no experience, which means you might feel, or I felt like a fraud in the beginning. Not so much fraud as I was delivering the wrong information, but more just, why would somebody want to listen?
Oh, dude,
that's the struggle.
That hits deep.
It's tough.
Because this whole past year, this is so random, but this whole past year, I've been like, why should anybody care? Just crazy. And that's why I was so sad for like the whole year. I had such a hard year. And honestly, it stems from like a philosophical, I don't know if that's the word, but all year I was thinking about death.
Maybe.
I was thinking about death like the past, I think it's like a year and a half ago. For like a whole year, I was just thinking like, what the hell? Yeah. I was like, what is death? I was like, what is life? What is, like straight up.
Yeah.
I was like, what is life? Like, we're a blip in like this
philosophical. I'd say so.
We're a blip in all of this. And then I had such a hard time.
No, I was just like
sorry.
Yeah. Oh, good.
And I had such a hard time, like, kind of wrapping myself around that thought, and I was like, damn, we die, like, what happens, blah, 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 you know? Like, I don't know, I feel like
Yeah.
And then that also stemmed a lot of, like, why should anybody care? I'm like, I'm just a blip anyway, like, who fucking cares? But then I finally came to the conclusion that, first of all, nobody knows what's going to happen.
Nobody.
So stop caring so much about it.
Yeah, it's the other side of it. You could flip it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I then was like, sure, why should anybody care? But why should anybody not care?
Yeah.
We're here anyway, like, might as well have a damn, you know, so try to enjoy it. And that's been like the whole process the last little bit was trying to get trying to get myself in a state where I felt like I knew that my gift was needed in the world, and that people would care. And regardless if right now it's dunking, oh man, like, it's crazy. Going from dunking to this, people are like, huh? Why is this guy posting this shit on his dunking account? And I'm like, they're like, who is this guy? But like slowly, like, as I start proving myself through like having, you know, quality art, people are starting to care, and it's starting to get better. And
cool.
And I think it's kind of, especially when it comes to my like, fans, it's kind of just, well, I guess my dunking fans won't really transition into.
You never know, right?
I mean,
might. You once were.
Yeah, some people might have actually, and that's something that someone told me too, which was really important to me, was that, dude, like, yeah, sure, it was your dunking account, but there's a lot of people who just like liked you. I was like,
weird.
I was like, oh, that's weird.
There's no way. What do you mean you like me?
You like me?
Weird. You stayed for me?
That's crazy.
That makes no sense.
But yeah, I used to have 43,000 followers. I now have 34,000 followers.
It's gone down.
It's gone down. In the past 4 years, 9,000, which is fine because it's not like I'd want those.
But you weren't posting for a while, were you?
No, I was completely MIA. Yeah. But anyway, trying to teach myself that people do care, and like the whole, we're only here for a blip, so let's make it fucking count. Yeah. You know, instead of my old thought where it was like, oh, who cares? Poor me, I'm a victim. Yeah. Which I don't support that kind of thoughts. Everyone falls into it every now and then, and it's okay. It's just being able to eventually dig yourself out, which is what my song is about.
Nice. Feeling like a fraud sucks sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like it's, I remember too, I had, I'll just put it in context. I imagine you didn't watch the first podcast I ever did, because like
Start spitting quotes from it.
And I think because like I didn't, and it got to a point where I'm like, if I wouldn't enjoy listening to the episodes, or if I didn't enjoy the conversation, I felt like I was just having them to have them. And that's why I'm very picky of who I have on, especially because I'm like, I have to A, find the person interesting, B, like them, just in general, right? I'm like, if I don't like the person, I'm like, it's tough. If I have disagreements, that's fine, we can disagree, right? But it's having stuff like that, I'm like, if I wouldn't listen to the episode, or if I don't think the guest is interesting, why would anybody else, right? So it's like, if you don't like your music and you're putting it for other people, it's like, but if you don't like it, it's like, oh, it needs to be for others. I'm like, yeah, but it also needs to be for me first. I don't think I'm able to convey that passion for it until I actually started to like find the voice and not be two different versions of myself. Where it's like, oh, Glenn on camera, and then because if I'm very uncomfortable being recorded, chances are the person with less experience.
Yeah, big facts.
So
I fully agree with that.
Yeah, it's tough. But as we kind of get to the end of this, do you have anything like lesson you've kind of learned in the last few years, and especially even with the transition you made a handful of years ago from dunking into music and all that time, that like if you could sum it up in a few sentences, what do you think you'd say?
Man, in terms of life itself, it's that life isn't that serious. Like, like there's a lot of things you do not need to care about.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you should not, like maybe not should not, but like could not bother you, rather. That should be the word. Could not bother you if you just didn't let them. And it's number one thing, especially this is how I live my life, is I'm very unbothered by a lot. But then when I need to care about something, I am learning to do that. So I think it's very important that whenever things like there's negative emotions coming up around you, to not be reactive, to just be very like, oh, this is happening, to be able to look past, to look through people's pain. So when someone's being rude to you or being whatever, to be able to see like they're probably just hurting too, and it's not personal, and to be able to be a light in this world that can be dark sometimes. And and that comes with being nice and and being unbothered, I feel.
Nice. If I were to grab my phone, or somebody were to grab their phone, and they like the type of music you do and the art you create, if I were to grab my phone and go into like Apple Music or Spotify or SoundCloud, how could I find you?
Me?
Yeah.
My last name.
And your work. Okay.
Yeah, Kilganon. That's
all caps.
All caps. That's my
mint.
Nice
and easy. Thank you.
I love my last name so much. So I don't know why. It's always been a thing with like I don't know, the Kilganons. So I just really like it, and I think I'm gonna stick with it.
Nice.
Yeah, my brother was asking me, he's like, you could change your name now. You're not big enough yet to. I was like, nah, I'm sticking with it.
Nice consistency. Yeah, dude. I'm first and foremost really grateful for your time. I've heard bits and pieces of your story, and throughout years, whether it be from you or like from friends and family close to you as well, and like friends close to me as well. So it's been really cool to kind of hear it straight from the source, and to hear kind of how everything stemmed from, and how like the relationships with your brothers and your folks, and how everything kind of comes to fruition, and how you've made these transitions into doing something that you really love, and you're doing it for you. So appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. I also want to shout out my whole family, because I love them all, including my sister and my brothers and my mom and my dad.
Sweet. Yeah, that's it, dude. That's a wrap, man. Thank you very much.